All right, I think that I am live. Hopefully, I'm doing this right. This is my first time doing this as far as doing a whole live. So if there are some technical glitches, I promise y'all I am working on that and I will get it together soon. But I wanted to go ahead and do this because I made a promise that I was going to go live. And even though everything is not perfect, that's not really what I'm going for. I'm just wanting to get in the practice of doing this, and so I'm very excited about it. And so if you see me look this way, it's because my computer screen is this way and I haven't quite decided how I want to do the official setup. So all of these things are happening all at the same time, but I'm very excited to be live right now, and I just want to go ahead and get this party started. So real quick, let me just kind of tell you who I am. All right, I got the lower third going. All right, my name is Jenn McNeely, and I am the owner of JWM Designs and Marketing. For those of you who are already part of this channel, who followed me, who've seen some of my videos, I do a lot of videos with tips and tricks with relation to starting a business, running your business, tools that can help your business out, and that sort of thing. And so I've done quite a few videos so far, but I plan on doing a lot more throughout this year. And so I wanted to also give those of you who've been following, who've been posting questions under some of the videos that I've already posted, wanted to give you guys an opportunity to be able to ask direct questions. And there are a few people that I'm in other groups with that have some questions as well. And so I wanted to make sure that I answer some of those questions as well. So let me just give you a little bit of background about who I am. I started JWM Designs in 2017, and I started out as just a WordPress web designer. I do everything on WordPress, from just building up your websites and that sort of thing. I also do digital marketing, like, running your Facebook ads or campaigns that are non-paid ads, as well as Instagram, LinkedIn, and all that. And it actually started out really as a hobby. I was bored in my day job and I wanted to learn a new skill, and I took some courses, took some different classes, learned how to write code in HTML and CSS, and then eventually got into the WordPress space because I really liked WordPress because it allowed so much customization and so many things. So took some courses on that and then just built my business around it. And it really just started out, like I said, as a hobby. It's just something I was doing just because I wanted to see what it was like, see if I liked it, see if I dug it, and it turned into something more because I had a lot of friends who were starting businesses themselves and they needed their websites and they weren't sure where to get started. And so I just started doing it that way, and it's grown, and I've been very, very pleased with it. And so that's kind of the story of JWM Designs. But a little bit more about me. I am a hobbyist. I enjoy crafting, like Cricut, DIY, sublimation, all that. I'm part of a lot of different groups. Particularly, there's one that I follow, which is Auntie Tay, and I will tag and update all of this stuff in the live information afterwards because I didn't realize I could do that before. So now that I know that I can do that, I'll make sure I add some of these links and things. But it's a crafting community, and I love that group because she has a business members group, which I'm a part of. And even though I don't sell anything, I love the group because it allows me to be able to interact with people who are just getting started with their businesses. I love DIY projects. I think those are so fun. I actually own my own Cricut and a few other things, even though I don't sell anything. I am a hobbyist and I absolutely love it, but I love being around creative people. And so that's one of the things that I really like to do. This year, in 2021, I left my full-time job because I am also, and alongside with being a WordPress website developer, I am a licensed attorney in the state of Georgia. And so I know, right? You're like, how does that even go together? I know, I don't even know how it goes together. I'm one of those people who I find something interesting, I pursue it, and I try to master it, and then it's just another thing I add to my arsenal. And so I'm a licensed attorney, and it kind of goes hand in hand with helping people when they're starting their businesses, when it comes to, starting your website, that kind of thing, because I deal a lot with small businesses, entrepreneurs, people who are just starting out, who want to have a hot side hustle and make that their main hustle. I really love helping the employee turned entrepreneur. That is my heart. Those are the people who I think are just so inspiring and so interesting, and I get so much from them. As being one myself and going full time with that this year, being able to use my two businesses to support me. And so I started my business, which is Curly Girl Law, which is my law firm, and it's focused on really helping small businesses, people who are just starting out, DIYers, mid-sized businesses who want to be compliant, who want to understand some of those basics, who want an attorney advisor, and not just somebody who will point them in one direction, do one thing, charge them a whole bunch of fees, and forget about them. I enjoy working alongside people and helping them. And so my two businesses, they kind of help each other and they support each other. And so that's a little bit about me. That's kind of my background, and that's what I do. So what is the point of this live today? Well, one is to get me used to being able to get in front of the camera and to be able to talk and not be so freaked out about it. And two, to, like I said, respond to some of the questions and things I've gotten. There's a video that I've done recently that is really popular, and it's one of those things that everyone who is starting their businesses, whether they're going to register them with their state or not, they all need an address for the business. You need somewhere where, if you're going to register particularly, you need an address to be able to have for your records as far as the state that you're registering in, but also for your customers and that sort of thing. But for most DIYers or small businesses, and especially now in the post, or I guess we're kind of post-COVID age, in this time, you're probably working from home. You're probably doing a lot of things outside of your house. But that's not the address that you want to advertise on Google. That is not the address that you want to give potential new customers. And so I did a video on just 3 alternatives to using your home address, which is the US Post Office service. You can use UPS because they have a mailbox service. And then I told you about ipostal1.com. And I told you about all 3 because all 3 I either have personal knowledge having used them myself, or I've had close friends who have used them. And so that's why I recommended those 3 options. Now, depending on your state, you may have to use an address, an actual street address. And so ipostal1.com is one, but there are a few others. I know in the state of Georgia, and I think probably throughout the nation, you also have the option of using Regis, because I know Regis, they do offer some mail services. And there are also a few of those co-working spaces like WeWork, Roam, and I forget the other, Squarespace or something. There's like another like shared space type thing, and they also offer some mail options for you as well. And I might do another updated video to just give you guys some more options to see, because depending on where you live, you may not have the locations that you have to choose from. They may not be that great. And so that, that's one of those things where you really can't control. But I know as more people are going virtual as far as their businesses, especially within the service-based industry or even in some of the production-based industries, there are going to be a lot more options for that kind of thing. There's also a lot more options for people who want to sublease spaces because, like I said, a lot of people are working from home. And so I'm going to give you guys some tools and tips on what you need to do and what you need to think about if you were going to take on a sublease. So I'm going to keep looking back and forth this way because I want to see if I've got any questions in the chat. Because if I do get questions in the chat, I want to make sure that I follow those and that people are able to see them. So that's what's going on right there. Well, one of the things that I want to also go over today, which I think is a really big important thing, is just legal compliance in general. When you are starting your business, I know that it's so tempting to not take it as seriously as you should. So maybe you started off and you are a sole proprietor, because that's what everyone is. If you haven't registered with your state, more than likely you will be considered a sole proprietor. And there's nothing wrong with being a sole proprietor. Sometimes you're not ready to take that step to actually registering your business, but what registering your business really does with your state is it allows you an extra layer of protection between your personal assets and your business assets. And what I mean by that is simply, when you start your business, more than likely you're putting your own money into it. And whatever money that you make from it is coming directly to you, because if you don't have a separate account, it's coming right into your account. But what say if you do some sort of service-based business or products-based business, and the person that, your customer, they're upset about something, or they're injured by some of your service or something about your product or whatever, and they decide that they want to sue you. because maybe you didn't get the product to them on time, and because you didn't, they suffered some kind of economic loss. Well, what do you do then? Because they then will be able to sue you and say, hey, there's no difference between you, the business owner, and you, the individual. And so let's say you own a house or a car or other assets. If they're going to sue you and then potentially seek damages, then one of the things that they'll be able to do is they'll be able to touch those individual, their personal property, those personal assets, to be able to recoup whatever damages that they're claiming they have as a result of, the bad business deal or whatever it is that happened between you and that person as a customer. What registering your business does, it allows you a layer of protection because it separates you, the individual, from your business. And what that means is that, I'll give you an example with JWM Designs. That is an LLC. I love LLCs, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I also have a video where I talk about why I think LLCs are really awesome, and I'll link those too in the description box once I get that updated. But going back to LLCs, and what I would say is, like, for me, JWM Designs is an LLC. If, let's say I do a website for someone, and although I do everything that I possibly can, it gets hacked. And someone takes over that website and they do all kinds of crazy stuff on that website. If that client comes to me and they say, because you didn't do X, Y, and Z to protect my website, it was taken over and I have suffered some kind of harm as a result of it. If they wanted to, they could sue me. And so what happens then is that if they sue me, they're not suing Jennifer, me, the individual, they're suing JWM Designs. And so only the assets that belong to JWM Designs can they touch, because JWM Designs is like its own person, and then there's Jennifer. And so that's what I talk about when I say, why I encourage people that when you're starting your business, have a budget for when you begin, particularly as far as like your legal compliance stuff, is that you want to have those things separated. It's not because it looks good. It's not just because, hey, it further legitimizes your business as it relates to other things. But honestly, it's to protect your personal assets so that no one can come after Jennifer's house or Jennifer's car or Jennifer's personal assets. They can only go after JWM Designs and whatever JWM Designs has, and that's it. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say why it's important to register. And so one of the things I've gotten recently with people that I've been talking to just in the crafting community or new entrepreneurs, they're like, well, I don't really understand all of this registration stuff. And I get that because it is a lot. And if you've never dealt with anything like that, and if you don't have entrepreneurs or people in your family or in your life who know a lot about it, it may be a little bit confusing. And even though most states have resources that can help you, along with the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration, that's a federal agency. There are resources out there, but even when you get those resources, I know that when you're reading them, it could be like reading a foreign language. So I definitely understand how that can be. And I'm just looking over here just to make sure I don't miss anything in the chat, but it looks like we're pretty quiet over here, so that's good. Excuse me. So one of the things that I would say as far as for those individuals is that you guys are the ones that I help. You're sort of my target audience, my target market, because I know that if you're not familiar with it, it can be very difficult and it can be really intimidating. And so my goal is to try to help you. And so there's a resource that I have, and I'm going to link it below. So pardon me for looking this way, but I want to make sure you guys can see it. This is, hold on one second. Okay, so yeah. So this is a PDF that I have, and you can see, I'm going to scroll up just so you can see what it looks like. And what I've gone is all of the different places in which you can file your LLC for business formation for the different states. I've gone ahead and linked them all in the same spot. And so what I want to do really quickly is I want to show you one of those real quick. I'm in Georgia, but I'll start with Texas because Texas is fun and I love Texas. So one second, let me get that showing for y'all. Okay. Oh, that's not what I want. Hold on one second. I'm getting it together, guys. I promise. Hold up. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is the Texas, if you click on that link, so what I showed you before with the PDF. So let's say if I go ahead and I click on that, let's go, where's Texas? So if you look at the PDF that I'm going to share, this is Texas. This is the website that you would need to go to. So you click on Texas, and it'll send you straight to their website. So this is what the Texas Secretary of State's website looks like. And so what you would do if you are in Texas and you're wanting to file your business, you would come here, you would go to business services, and then this is the page where you would look. So I'm going to just talk about LLCs in this video. There are other types of business entities there are, and I did a video on them kind of explaining what the different ones are. You've got LLCs, you've got sole proprietors, you've got S corporations, which are like closely held corporations, you've got C corporations, like think Target, well not Walmart, you think Target, Warner Media, that kind of stuff, those big large corporations. You've got partnerships, you've got general partnerships, limited liability partnerships. So those are all kind of like different types of entities. But like I said in a couple videos, I'm a big fan of LLCs. They're super easy. Every state has an LLC statute, so it's really super easy to do. And there are some basic elements that all LLCs require, and then some states require something a little bit different. So let's go back to looking at Texas real quick. So I'm just going to scroll so you guys can kind of see. They do a really good job and most states do this. They do a good job of kind of explaining things about what you need to do, all the different materials and stuff like that. For Texas in particular, you're going to need to know, obviously, the name that you want to have for your business. You need to make sure that that name is available. So you want to do a research for the business name, because that's kind of key. In Texas, the filing fee for an LLC is $300 for just the basic, which is probably what most of you guys are going to do. Now, if you're going to do any kind of professional organization, like if you are a lawyer, and I think even with some CPAs, you do have different fees that you have to pay. So it might be a little bit different, and they might have different rules for structuring it. But for most people probably watching this, a basic LLC is probably all you're going to need. But like I said, they have all of this sort of information for you. If you're looking, you want to go to the forms and find the form. I know in Texas it's form 205. And this is what the form looks like. And I'll pull it up real quick, just a PDF version. I don't know if it'll let me see it. Perfect. It's going to let me see it. So the form 205, this is your LLC button, LLC form, if it pops up. There it goes. And so and again, most states do this. They explain to you what's going to be in the form, what you need. They have numbers. Now, they're not going to give you legal advice. So if you're going to do this, you need to make sure you read this closely, and you should also read the statutes related to LLCs in your state. But if not, I would say hire a business attorney, and they would definitely be able to help you walk through this process. But it's going to tell you about what elements you need. Like, you need the name and the entity type. Obviously, those are important. You need a registered agent. And so let me kind of give an explainer real quick of what a registered agent is. Your registered agent is the person that if you get sued, or who can receive service of process, meaning like if you get sued or some sort of official documents, the state needs to know who can we go to make sure that we give you those documents, and can say that you have been put on proper notice about whatever it is that you're receiving. So this can be you could be your own registered agent. This could be an individual. It could be a lawyer if you want it to be your lawyer. There are certain services and businesses that are registered agents for people, particularly if you have a business in a state that you actually don't live in, and you want to have a satellite office or do business in that state. Then you can have, hire a registered agent in that state to serve in that capacity for you. So there are different options when it comes to that. But the main thing is that that person has to have a physical address and has to be able to be reached or reached at that address. So that's what the registered agent is. And then how the LLC is going to be governed. And what that means is is it going to be managed by the members? Meaning if you have an LLC, the people who are, the owners, the members of that LLC. You could also have a manager, someone who manages all of those things, and they don't necessarily have to be a member of the LLC, but they can be the manager for the LLC. And you guys can have a way of, deciding who does that or how it's done. So you just have to make that decision up for yourself. And I can talk about that a little bit more if anybody actually has a question. Hold on, let me just look and see in the chat. No questions, so we just keep going. So going back to Texas, you need to have the purpose of your LLC. In most states, you can just say, you know, for any legal purposes. It doesn't have to be super exact. Just make sure you read your state statute to see what it is. Like, for instance, if you're a law firm, or if you're a CPA, if you're a doctor, there's certain, or insurance provider particularly, and there are certain extra things that you need to do because of liability purpose and the type of business that you have. But for the most part, you could say for any legal purpose, and that's completely fine. You don't necessarily have to put how long you plan on the company existing. I mean, some people do, because let's say if you have it for a limited purpose. So let's say you have a big event and you want to make sure that you protect yourself from liability, you can then say, you know, this LLC is only going to last as long as the event and maybe a week or two afterwards, and then it'll automatically dissolve. That's fine. You can totally do something like that if you want to have a limited purpose LLC. But if you're starting a business and you're an entrepreneur, more than likely you want this thing to last forever and make you lots and lots of money and make you very, very happy. So this is your option for being able to do that. And there's just a few other things, but like I said, it's $300 in Texas, not very hard to do. And then they also give you a form. And so this is the form right here. Very simple, super easy. You can submit it. They'll tell you how to do it, any additional provisions. So easy. The organizer, it can be you, it could be your attorney of fact. I mean, when you're looking at this is not very difficult to do. But just because it's not difficult doesn't mean that you don't need to take your time with doing it and making sure that you know what you're doing. So I say that to say is that it's not a very hard process to get your information filed. And like I said, I got Georgia, and I can show you how I do it on mine as well if you want. But they're relatively the same. There may be just some specific things that are state specific that are different. So like in Georgia, to file for your business, I think it's only $100. So Texas is $300. I think Georgia is only $100 for a basic LLC. And then if you want to get it expedited, as far as getting it filed sooner, I think it's an additional $100 or something. It's not very expensive. So that's an option for you. One question I got, One question I got recently was like, well, do I need to hire an attorney, or can I just go with something like LegalZoom? Okay, as an attorney, you know, I'm always like, I'm not a big fan of LegalZoom, but LegalZoom has a purpose. And so I'm not like poo-pooing on it in any way. I'm like, make your money. If that's the business you want to be in, that's great. Here are my concerns when it comes to using services like LegalZoom. They are not attorneys, and they'll tell you that. They tell you they're not attorneys. They tell you they're not giving you legal advice. What they're doing is, like I just did, I showed you guys the form, and I just explained what each of those things are. You still have to end up filing that information. You still have to make sure you put it in there and that it's verifiable and that the state will accept it. They're not going to make sure that everything you put in there is correct. They're not going to say, hey, this is the legal implication of this because you put this as your answer. They're not going to do that because they can't give you legal advice because they're not attorneys. Also, they're going to cost more. So as you see, Texas filing fee is $300. Well, more than likely, if you go through a service like LegalZoom, they're going to charge you an additional $100 to $200 just for them to be able to give you that form. So now you're going to be spending more money when you really don't need to. And if you were to go with an attorney that specializes in small businesses, an attorney that specializes with entrepreneurs, you might get a better deal. Plus, you'll actually have an attorney look at it. So the likelihood of you getting your paperwork rejected or there being some kind of issue is much less likely because you will have an attorney that'll be there for you and that can help you, and that, you know, they are obligated to give you legal advice. And so that's why I am more along the lines when it comes to small businesses or anyone, I would rather you hire an attorney. And the only reason I say that is because when you do, you have an added layer of protection. We've got different rules that apply to us as attorneys when it comes to the advice that we give you, how we treat you, your confidentiality, all of that kind of stuff. Those are not necessarily things that you're going to get from some of these services out there because they're not attorneys. And for instance, I do trademark work as well. LegalZoom did not fill out one of their forms for trademarks. They offer trademark services, but they hired an attorney to do their trademark work. And so why is that important? Because there are so many other variables that just filling out a form, you're not going to necessarily know about. And that's why you want the expert advice of an attorney. So off my soapbox, but again, I'm not poo-pooing on LegalZoom. I think that if you've used it, that's fine. These are just things that you got to make sure you're aware of when you use a service like that. Are they attorneys who are giving you advice? Let me just look real quick at the stream to see if we've got any questions. So, okay. Let's see. One other thing I just wanted to talk about really quickly is just when you're starting your business, one of the things I think is just so important is to make sure that you take your business seriously. And what I mean by that is sometimes when you start off, you're like, well, it's just a hobby. I'm just doing something on the side. But what if you could do it full time? And would you want to? Would you want to make your living off of that? Or maybe you look at your business as a means of, if I do X, Y, and Z, this will allow me to pay my child's first year tuition. Or this will allow me to buy that new car that I've always wanted. Or this will allow me to retire early. Whatever those things are, when you're starting your business, think about those things. Think about those goals. Because I think that's going to help you when you're trying to plan things out, what's important, what's not important, how to spend the money, all those kinds of things. And so my goal with, JWM Designs and with Curly Girl Law, and I'll show you the websites because I realized I didn't show you actually what my businesses are. So let's just get you guys so you can at least see. Well, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so this is JWM Designs. This is, like I said, it's my website digital marketing company. So that's what I've got here. And so, like I said, I do website and that kind of stuff. And then, so that's that. And then this is the other business that I started, which is Curly Girl Law. And like I said, it's mainly for legal services for the entrepreneur, and I try to do my best and service those things. And so I'll have links to all of that in the description box below, but I at least wanted to make sure I let you guys see what that was so you know what it is and all that good stuff. Okay, so again, my goal is to be a resource, be a tool, be able to help you guys. I'm going to have links to, like I said, like how I did with Texas. You'll be able to do the same thing with other states. You can do it with Georgia. You can do it all that. I've got, and I guess I can show you guys real quick again. I've got, so we've got Texas. I've already showed you that. This is what California's page looks like. So again, you would go to the business section here, and then it's going to tell you about all the information about your LLCs, their business program. They're going to give you forms, fees. I think in California it's a little bit more expensive. I'm almost 1,000% sure it's more expensive there, and so that's why you want to make sure you know what your fees are and that kind of thing. And just like they give you filing tips, they give you all of this kind of information. So it's not that it's not there, but I know it still can be a little bit confusing, but you should make sure that you take a look at this information. You should make sure that you take a look at this information, and so that you understand what's going on, what's required of you, all that good stuff, because you don't want to find yourself in a position where you're trying to start a business and you're already getting fines and fees from your state because you're not properly, secured as far as like how you're compliant with all of those legal things. And then, and I'll just show you Georgia because I live in Georgia and I do this all the time in Georgia for my clients and that sort of thing. And they've got, like I said, they've got a list. So yeah, LLCs are only $100. It's always costs a little bit more to do paper, but who does paper anymore, right? But yeah, so here's the fees. So that's why I said the cost of starting your business is not very hard. In most states, usually between $1 and maybe $500, I think, depending on your state and what their filing requirements are. Oh, one more thing I do want to make sure I mention. Let's turn off the small camera. One more thing I do want to make sure I mention. So there's the filing requirements that come with your LLC, which is what your state requires. And so that's one thing. Another thing that you also, and what I think is the most important part when you hire an attorney to help you with starting your business, is the operating agreement. Now, the operating agreement is not something that you actually file with the state. The operating agreement is something that's completely different. And what it is the way in which your business is going to be structured. It's all in writing. That's the whole point of it, is to be able to say, let's say if you decided to bring on a partner, or you decided to bring on another member or whatever, it says this is how votes are done. This is how major decisions are done. If you decide that you want to end the company altogether, this is how the company is ended. This is how we wind things down. This is how we sell off assets. If there is a vote that needs to be done, and you've got some people that are for it, some people are against it, this is the process of doing it. Who makes those final decisions? How those decisions are made? That's what the operating agreement does. That is one of the most overlooked yet very important documents when it comes to forming your business. Now, any skilled attorney is going to let you know that, and they're going to work with you to make sure they understand your goals and what you want to do before you go through the process of bringing anyone else on or filing. If you are going into business with someone else, so meaning that, like for me, I'm a single member LLC. It's just me. I'm the single member, so I make all the decisions. It's on me. However, if I were to go into business with someone else, I don't care if they're my family, if they're my best friend, if they're my mama, my daddy. You need to have in writing how decisions are going to be made. You need to have in writing how the business is going to operate, how things are going to wind up or wind down. Like, you need to have that stuff in writing and agreed upon. And the reason why it's so important, and I have seen this too many times, I have a client right now who we were working on their trademark stuff, and their friendship exploded. And so now they're not friends anymore, but they're in business together. But they did not clearly identify their roles prior to going into business together. There's a lot of money now at stake. There's a lot of things going on. So your operating agreement or your partnership agreement, if you're doing a partnership, whatever, these things are so important. So even though you don't file them with the state, you still need to have them. Now, with LLCs in particular, because they're something that came from statute, there is a way around that, because if you do not have an operating agreement, the statute then will govern as to how decisions are made and that kind of thing. But I mean, you don't ever want to leave to the government or anyone else important decisions. You want to make sure that the decisions that are made in your business or in your company are made because that's what you want. That's what you like. That's how you want it to be. And so your operating agreement is very important. It's a very important document that needs to be executed at the same time or around the same time that you formalize your business. Now, if you have been in business for a while and you don't have one, doesn't mean that it's not the good time to go ahead and get your operating agreement up and running. But this is just something that I think it's very important. I have an operating agreement for my business so that if I wanted to bring on partners or just hire someone, there is a specific way in which I can do that. Even though it's just me at this point, there still are things that I need to do as far as corporate governance that are just clearly important. And so I want to make sure I hit that before I ended this live. Let me see if we've got any questions. And if not, what I'm going to do is, I guess I'll say goodbye, because I was going to do a Q&A, and so I'll let people know next time so that I can do a Q&A with them, because I wanted to make sure I answer some questions. I know that that people had questions as far as like which forms they need to file and that sort of thing, and I was hoping I'd get the states, because I honestly was not going to go through each and every state if there was nobody in that state. I do know there was somebody in Texas who asked for something, so that's why I wanted to make sure I went through Texas. But if there are other states or anything else, I'm definitely willing to look at. I also, if you need a referral to find an attorney, I've got a network of attorneys that I work with, so they can help you as far as that are specialized with small businesses, if that's something that you're interested in. If you're interested in learning just more about what JWM Designs does, if there are things or tools or tips or help that you need, definitely interested in helping. I'm going to be doing an updated video on the address, because that seems to be very popular as far as finding a business address that's not your home address. I also am going to do one that I really am excited about, because I have tried maybe 4 different social media planner programs, And I've got some pros and cons on the ones that I've used the most, the ones that I really, really like, and I definitely want to share those with you because that is definitely something that everyone needs. I don't care what your business is, whether it's product-based or service-based. You got to have a social media presence. And so sometimes you can't do it all every single day. But if you can plan it out, that's even better. And so I've got a couple that I really like that I'll tell you about that I've used personally. I'm not going to promote something that I haven't used personally or don't have personal knowledge of with either friends or people that I've worked with because I just don't see the point in promoting an item just because that's what it is. That's not what I'm here for. So I'll let you guys know about that too. That's definitely something that's coming down the pipe. But if you've got business-based questions or that kind of thing, I'll definitely be doing it. And I'm very excited about all of that. And I hope you guys have a great day. And I guess that'll be it for the live because I don't have any questions. So, yeah. All right. So that's it, guys. Bye now.